Anytime there's some kind of authentic connection, that is just the best of both worlds. And if you get somebody with great name recognition and somebody with a very close tie to the brand, it's perfect.
Welcome to Celebrity Focus Insiders with your host, Rick Backrack.
Yvonne Goforth-Hanak is the co-president and COO of KEF Media. Before that, she was at Universal Studios Florida as a senior publicity representative. Yvonne literally has thousands of celebrity deals in her portfolio of work. She has seen and done it all. Yvonne, welcome. Tell us, KEF is a broadcast media business, but what does that mean? What does KEF do?
Hi, Rick. We do anything dealing with getting our clients' message across broadcast outlets, TV, online, radio, podcast, just about anything, in the broadcast realm.
And you've worked for years with celebrities of every stripe and nature, but we both know that the world of celebrity has changed dramatically in these past 25 years. How do you define celebrity?
I define celebrity as someone with name recognition. In our world, getting somebody on TV, on an online outlet, half the battle is name recognition. So when we say celebrity, we are talking about somebody that when we go to producers or writers, they're immediately going to know who we're pitching to them.
How do you think that world of celebrity has changed in the past 25 years? Because what we might have known it to be is not necessarily what it is today.
Absolutely. Celebrity, the definition of celebrity has kind of expanded really in the past 10 years or so, to include a lot of online presence, online TikTok stars and Instagram stars. And all of that is great when you're talking to a certain demographic. But those folks might not translate as well into like morning show TV. So it's really kind of an education process with our clients. Yes, these people have millions of followers, but that might not translate over to the local TV market. So we really got to look at it and see who makes sense to get the kinds of media that the client's wanting to get, if that makes sense.
Sure, it does. And it tells me as well that it's not all about the impressions. Um, you've worked with some huge brands, the Home Depot and Adobe and Pearson, Hilton, Wyndham, all sorts of brands in a lot of different ways. What are you looking for when you're considering celebrities or talent to work with? Are there attributes you're looking for beyond just who's famous? But how do you make these marriages?
The main thing is authenticity. We want someone that can very easily talk about the brand that they're representing. They use the brand or they fit the ideal demographic. Anytime there's some kind of authentic connection, that is just the best of both worlds. And if you get somebody with great name recognition and somebody with a very close tie to the brand, it's perfect.
Do the clients come to you with their own spokespeople, or are they reliant on you to bring talent to the table?
I would say about 65% of the clients bring their spokespeople to us. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's great big celebrities. Other times it's not really a great fit. And we have to kind of put that, round peg into the square hole. Um, we'll make it work, but it's not as authentic. It's not as seamless as it is if we had been in on the beginning and really tried to go through the different layers of why this person is going to work well.
So you've had a lot of different experiences. What are the things like when you're working with talent? What makes somebody a great spokesperson versus not great, frankly.
A great spokesperson is somebody that is prepared, that knows the messaging, that knows, how to deliver that message in, again, that authentic way, and can do it conversationally. And they're not trying to force it in. I would say preparation. I would say just being nice and easy to work with. That's a big part of this as well. If you get a spokesperson that is not um, willing to look at the messaging beforehand and really study, then it's not a great look for the brand.
And if you were giving counsel to an agent or to a manager who might be watching, um, and let's face it, every agent and manager thinks that the people they represent, every one of them is spectacular. But if there was counsel you were giving to them, what would you tell them in terms of advising the talent they represent when they are considering doing, let's say, satellite media tours or virtual media tours in particular? What would you tell them?
I would say study what's going to make a great interview. Some of these folks haven't done these before, and doing a 3 to 4 minute TV segment, local TV segment, is a lot different than doing a long sit down interview with a print outlet. You have to work on condensing your messaging. You have to work on, just really pinpointing how you're going to get that message across. I would also say to the agents and to the talent, don't be so greedy. Don't take everything that comes along. We get into a situation quite often where spokesperson, they won't have told us that they've got another project they're doing a week later or so. So we're out there competing against other interviews that they're doing. And that really puts us all in a bad position. Yes, they might get 2 projects out of it, but both projects are going to suffer because they haven't been upfront with what else they're doing.
Well, that's a great point. Yvonne, we have several more questions that I want to ask you. We're going to take a short break. And in the meantime, I do want to remind our viewers, if you like these interviews, look around. Somewhere on this screen is a button that says subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. Check out celebrityfocus.com. Sign up for our newsletter. And in the meantime, stay tuned. I'll be back with Yvonne in just a moment.
Hey, hey, these are my shoes. And here's the rest of me.
Come to my window, I'll be home soon. You're in the arms of the angel.
It's about not just the fundraising, but getting people to understand how important North Pond is to Lincoln Park, to Chicago, to our natural areas, but also to us as human beings, to our need for connecting to nature.
Yvonne, so many more things to ask you, but I want to start with this. Has the media booking part of the business changed? Again, I think back to 25 years ago, and I look now to where we are today, and how has that changed? Because booking media is a different beast today than it was back then.
Absolutely. There are so many more opportunities to get the client's message out there. Um, you know, when I started in the satellite tour business, it was typically television media. So we would book, 25, 30 interviews across local and national TV across 4 hours. That would be your tour. Now, especially with the celebrity, we have so many more options. So a couple of years ago, we really looked at the model and said it doesn't really make sense to keep doing satellite tours like we've been doing them. 4 hours, one location. A lot of times the spokesperson has contracted for a longer day, um, like an 8-hour day. So we kind of flipped the model on its head a little bit and said, okay, give us those 8 hours and we will do a media day that we customize for you. So we'll do some satellite interviews. We'll do some interviews where we're bringing the reporters on site to us, like a junket. We will take the celebrity to in studio opportunities across broadcast and online media. Um, you know, 7, 8 years ago, the big win in our world would be a Good Morning America or a Today Show booking. Now Yahoo is kind of the holy grail because it goes across so many different platforms. So really looking at all the different media that's available and figuring out how we can get our spokesperson across as many of those platforms. That's really our goal now.
And are there differences in terms of the outreach you do to the media? Because the media desk has changed now too, as well as the other.
Absolutely. Again, there's so many. The online world has just opened up everything. Um, Again, it used to be what we did was mainly casting a wide net and getting as many viewers as possible for a message. And that would be a very broad audience. Now, with the different segmented online outlets or even the streaming channels, we can really dive into a client's exact demographic, exact geographical areas that they want to hit. There's so many more ways to customize where we get this message across. And this is across earned and secured media. There are so many options on both sides. So, where a project works best is really when we can combine those two elements, the secured and the earned, and really blanket your target demo.
How how did the pandemic affect your business? Because we all adapted, but you did it especially well.
Well, thank you. The pandemic, when it first hit, all of our business went away because our business was based on us getting on a plane and flying to wherever we needed to be for a certain project. So, very scary for a couple of weeks. But I would say within those couple of weeks, I think within a week of the widespread shutdowns, we had created the virtual media tour where we could do interviews from anybody's home. All they needed was a computer, basically. And the media were so excited for this. They had a lot of time to fill, and they weren't going out and getting stories at that time either. So we were able to really utilize the fact that people were sitting at home, they were bored, they were watching TV, they were watching the news a lot because everybody wanted to know what was going on, but they also needed something besides the pandemic to focus on. So it was an opportunity to get in front of new audiences and to really get some celebrities that maybe we couldn't have afforded in the past. A client couldn't have afforded, but because they were home doing nothing, they were willing to work with us, and it was just really a very interesting time. It was a very kind of exciting time because it changed everything we do about our business.
And that's such a great point. There really was a greater sense of reason among representatives, among talent at the time. People wanted to work, and and a lot of folks said yes, whereas they may not have previously, which now gave them new experiences to draw from. So I do want to recognize that we're having some buffering issues. If you're a viewer, hang in there with us. We've got great content. Um, Yvonne, if you are still there and able to hear me, I want to talk a little bit about your favorite campaigns because you've done so many things throughout the years, and I know you've had some favorites. But share a couple of examples of some favorite programs you worked on and what made them special.
Sure. I would say, first of all, anybody, again, going back, nice, anybody that's nice and willing to work with us to put out the best media interviews possible, that's always, in my favorite bucket. Believe me, there's been some that haven't been so great. But I remember a few years ago, we did a tour with Betty White. She was in her 90s. She sat there and did 36 interviews without a break. She had one person in her entourage, and he was about as old as she was, and he was her driver and assistant. That was just a very memorable day, and I use that as an example a lot when maybe we're working with a reality star, and they're like, "Well, we can only do 5 interviews, and then I need a 30-minute break." And I'm like, Betty White was 90 or in her 90s. And she didn't ask for a break. She was just there and she worked and it was great. And yeah, so that was a really good one. A lot of the nostalgic stars that we've worked with are really memorable. And really, the media just loved them. Mr. T, Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, those folks, they all have that name recognition. Everybody knows who they are. Everybody's interested in what they're doing. And it's just really, really great to connect those folks back with their fans. And I always say, don't overlook kind of stars of yesterday, because sometimes they're going to get you a lot more than the hot stars today. So let me see. Going back to that customized media day we were talking about with celebrities, we've had great success with celebrities like Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank. We've worked with him numerous times, and we've always tried to make it a little bit different. In addition to satellite tours and the junket style and taking him in studio, we've also expanded it to host luncheons with him where media could come and see what he was working on and then stay and do one-on-one interviews with him. That was, those kind of things that are just a little bit unique in our world really make a difference. There was another one where we had some stars from The Office, the accountants from The Office, Angela and Kevin. And we set up our interview space in an actual office in Manhattan. And then we created these little stations around. So the product was a non-alcoholic beer. And the premise was you can now drink beer at work. So you drink beer at the office. So we set up like a beer pong table. So when we had national outlets come in, they could customize their interview to be playing beer pong with the celebrities while doing their interview, and just getting out of that just sitting and talking to a camera is really, really great. I think what helps us set our offerings apart is we kind of try to think of different things we can do for these interviews.
Well, Yvonne, you've been a great interview. I want to thank you for joining us today. And as always, great value in our conversations. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody, somewhere around here, I'm not sure where it is, you'll see a button that says subscribe. Go ahead and click that, subscribe to our vodcast. Go to celebrityfocus.com and click on the links to subscribe to our newsletter. And we'll see you next week with another great interview with somebody else who's important in the business of connecting famous people with famous brands. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Celebrity Focus Insiders, connecting famous people with famous brands. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date and check out our past episodes at celebrityfocus.com.